Here, let's get started with IDA. When you have a client on the screen, you'll see a lot of the information has been populated for you, and some hasn't. Some didn't come over. The office, gosh, so many people have been working, it seems like night and day, to try to get the vital information in there for you. Vital information being authorizations, when their authorization begins, when does it end, the status of it, and how many hours they have. The entire plan of care, all the hours broken down per day, is not in there. That's not really necessary because we have it in our old database with our signed copies for our files. So it wasn't worth it, the time or energy putting it in again when you're not going to need it until the authorization's up, and you'll be creating a new plan of care at that point in time anyway. So let's just look at this first screen. It tells you the individual's name. Over to the right of IDA example, you'll see a little magnifying glass, a blue magnifying glass right here, and that is your find button, so you could find an individual just like you did on your old iPad. Primary caregiver is mother example, what division they fall in, and who the service facilitator is. Below that, you'll see the client's status. This is the client's status. This is not the status of their plan of care. This is not their status in the fiscal agent that they use, whether it's PPL, CDNC, or Access. This is their status. Their status would be active if they're an active client. Their status would be pending if it's an intake waiting to be done or be scheduled. We just haven't completed it yet. The status would be discharged. Let's pull them up. If they've been discharged. There's also a status there called process please. So if you're doing a transfer or you're doing a brand new intake, you can change that status from pending, which is what you'll see on your iPad, over to process please, which just gives another layer of please don't miss this authorization, get it done. Submitted and pending are not valid in this particular instance for this field. Their start of care, which waiver that they are using, their date of birth, when that's put in, it automatically calculates the date, whether they're male or female, social security number, Medicaid number. Now, this is really important here. If this individual was not HIP, let's say this individual was Anthem, it would look like this. And then when Tammy does the billing, she would put their Anthem billing code in there. But this individual was HIP, so under MCO, we're going to put Medicaid, and under MCO number /HIP, we're going to put the word HIP. And what that does, it lets billing know that because this is a HIP client, we have to bill Medicaid. Because this is a HIP client, their authorization goes through Medicaid. Each person under the CCC Plus waiver and each person under the DD waiver, they do have an MCO assigned to them, but don't let that confuse you. For a DD waiver especially, that's just for their health insurance. Make sure that the 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, make sure something is checked there. I'd like to see every 30 days. That's what we strive for. For our United folks, they're going to be every 60 days. And remember, there are a couple of them out there that we could only see 10 times a year, which those 2 times are going to be probably skipped just over easily. You would see their active authorizations here, and if they were DD waiver, you would see their active authorizations here. But I want to talk about just getting started. So what you're not going to see is a lot of this information up in this top row completed. So let's just go over it. So general information. This is going to be just general information we have about that client. Not necessarily anything that you need to input, but it's here for your information. You'll find it helpful sometimes when you're out in the field to know if that client is new to CD services or if they're not, whether they're a case that was transferred to us or they weren't transferred to us. They could be transferred to us and still be new to CD services, meaning that they came from an agency-directed model and not another service facilitator. If it was a transfer of previous provider, when did they discharge, patient pay, all of these wonderful things. It's where you can find this. Primary caregiver, day program. IDA example, the primary caregiver's name will follow through here. You need to make sure we have checked lives with the individual. How often do they see? And this is so often overlooked. People just don't think it's important. Every field in this database has a reason and a purpose, and it populates a form that is required by the state. So this question is on the 99, so it needs to be completed. There's a drop down here, assistance with all ADLs, IADLs, and supervision, or assistance/performance, or supervision only. The only time you could really see supervision only may be used in companion for DD. You can check with Jennifer on that one, since she's our DD guru. Do they do a day program? If they do, the name of it when they leave and return home. Their ADLs. We want to make sure that everything is filled in, completed here. And notice at the top, these needs helps are in purple. If they need help in one of these areas, you need to make sure that that's checked. And then, how much help do they need? They need help bathing. They need human help physical assistance. Transferring, it's not checked, but needs no help is checked. So you just want to make sure that those are all completed. IADLs, the same. You're just checking off what IADL that they need help with. Orientation, medications, joint mobility. Orientation, are they disoriented? If they are, in what sphere? What's the source of that information? You may see UAI there. You may see the word mom there, dad there, parent there. Mobility, where they stand in mobility. Joint motion, how are meds administered? Bowel bladder, again, just filling in the blanks. Their behaviors. And if it's anything other than appropriate, we need to see a description here and the source of that description. Their LOC score, and this, you all are used to this, is bathed, is dressed, eats with human help or human help, mechanical help, and just all their dependencies. And then you add those numbers up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they are score B. And I've got 2 windows open, so let's just see if it'll let me go back and do this. Bear with me. While I shut another window. There we go. And we want to make sure that all of those things are filled in before you get to the 99, because that's what populates on the 99. And also in getting started, you should see addresses completed here. Let's say that they live on 123 Elm Street. And they are Midlothian. It's Chesterfield County. And this is their home address. Jump over to phone, email, and they've got a home phone number. So we're going to put their home phone number in there. And we've got the primary caregiver, which is mom, cell phone number. So we're going to put mom's cell phone number in there. And maybe we even have dad's. Let's type in other and let's put dad. Or you can put his name. Email address. Is it the individual's email address, the primary caregiver's address, the OR's email address, or other gives you the option of typing something in. So we're just going to say it's the primary caregiver. The tab under EOR/aid. The OR's name as it appears in the Social Security card. If you have an existing client, capturing this information, again, if it's not filled in, is not really necessary unless they're changing from one fiscal agent to another. So then it would become necessary. So my advice to you is go ahead and get the information again if it didn't populate over. If they know their existing EIN number, you can zoom it up here. If they don't know it, that's not a big deal. We can always get it from the fiscal agent if need be. Their consumer ID number for PPL, their consumer ID number for CDNC, their consumer ID number for Access, if we could even just get a hold of Access. Their attendance. Their attendance, I know, did not populate over for you. You need to, again, talk to your families about attendance. It appears in the 99. We should, every time we go out, absolutely every time we go out, ask them the attendance names again. Make sure, is Jane and Marjorie still your attendants? And start the conversation that way. And this is really important too. So many hours have been cut by the MCOs, and we all know it's just been such a nightmare that if we update our system with the reduced hours, maybe from 30 down to 20, a lot of times we're not going in and adjusting their schedule to reflect that 20 hours. So this is really important. Know how many hours that your individual gets and make sure that their schedule reflects that amount of hours. The support team. Backup person. If you'll have a name in there for a backup person. What you don't have, because it's a new requirement or recently new, is the relationship and the telephone number. So make sure you just, backup person, just put a comma and then just keep on typing. Put in the relationship and the person's telephone number. Consumer directed personal attendant provider. There we go. PERS provider, if they have a PERS. Hopefully they're with us, they don't have an agency, but they could. I mean, they could be getting respite through an agency and consumer directed services through us. Their support system. If you know who their care coordinator is, we can add it here. Just hit the add button. It'll pop up with lots of names. And let's just find somebody to put in here. Really quickly, looks like all of these are support coordinators. Where is a care coordinator? Well, we'll just use a name. So it'll populate over. Here he is. And then you would do the same thing for their support coordinator through the county if they had one. What's not going to be in here, because it really needs to be updated, because we haven't updated it probably since we opened the case, is their primary care physician. So you would click the add button, and you would click the little add button right up here. And let's say it's John Doctor. And even though this says email address, when you click it, it'll pop up, and you can hit primary care physician. Normally, you're not going to have an email address for a primary care physician. You would have the email address for the care coordinator or the support coordinator. What the county or the MCO or the company, this again is a physician, so his medical practice, let's say, is Chippingham Pediatrics. And the address, city, state, all those wonderful things. And then you would just hit add person. And you come up and you'd see John Doctor here is the primary care physician, and he's at Chippingham Pediatrics. So that's how you add their primary care doctor to this list. Case notes is case notes, just as simple as that. We're going to hit add, and you start typing away. Make sure you put your name. Since I'm on the computer and signed in as me, it's going to populate that I wrote that note and what the date and time that I wrote it. You're signing in through your division. So what would happen, it would say Central if you're in Central Division, or Eastern Nova, and then the date and time it was created. So that's why it's really important that you sign your name after your note. I'm just going to delete that out. So once you've updated all of those wonderful pieces of information, you can go on to do a review. Remember, all of that information populates on that review. So we just want to hit that great big orange button. And Ask all the questions. Verify, update. Therapies, durable medical equipment, current health status, current medical nursing needs, medications, hospitalizations. This is where you could put excessive hours justification if it's hours over their level of care. You'll see their diagnoses popping up down here. And at the bottom, it'll say create a DMAS 99. So we're just going to hit create DMAS 99. And here you go. So your clients have been set up two different ways. When you pull one up, if you see a blank review there, but it has a date in it, and it says 6 months, that's the date of their last 6-month review. If you pull a client up and it does not have a date there, you know that a 6-month review is due. So if I were doing a review today for Ida example, there is no date there for me to go by. So I don't have a beginning date for 6 months. So I know we need to give her a 6-month review. So I'm going to hit the plus sign, hit 6 month here, and 6 month here. The red populates how we bill this on the MCO or how we bill Medicaid, and it also controls how much you are paid on your payroll. So it's really important to get this right. The blue is for audit purposes on the 99 review itself. So these are both extremely important that they're clicked, even though it seems redundant. Transfer not new to CD services, transfer new to CD services. Those are both initial visit over here because it's our initial visit. This is where you would put notes. And I saw one today. It was a transfer. So let's make this a transfer. And they weren't new, right? But still, you want to put transfer CD services complete, retrained in all policies, rules, regulations, and procedures. Participant will benefit from continued waiver services. We have these standardized statements in here for a reason. They're in here for audit purposes. Auditors want to see these words, right? So if you're doing a transfer, it's wonderful that you update the status of that individual or make notes about them there, but please also select this. When you do that, then you just click out at the end and then you can keep typing whatever you want to type. For a transfer, you want to hit management training because that's what you're doing with a transfer. You're retraining them, right? So we're going to come here and hit transfer case. Retrained in all EOR, retrained EOR on all procedures, policies, and responsibilities. And these are the same questions that they ask on previous reviews. So you just go in, answer the questions, have them sign. You can view the 99 here. It will show you the actual form. You can print it from here. You can print it as a PDF and create invoice. If you accidentally hit this, then you should not use this. But if you do, a message is going to pop up and say you're about to create an invoice for this form. Are you sure you would like to proceed? You do not want to proceed. You do not want to create an invoice. So you want to hit cancel. And then you can go back and you will see that you've got this transfer over here. Let's pretend like there was another one in here. Let's just put something through here. I just want a date. Doesn't matter what date. Just want to show you something. So over here on the right side of the screen, you see a 5-1 review, which is the dummy one we just did, and the transfer right up here, 722, which we just did. Let's say you have this one populated here, and that's what you're seeing. You could just hit the 722, and the 722 one will populate right in front of you. You can also just use your 2 fingers and scroll. There'll be one right after the other in the order that they've been created. But I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this. And your home button takes you back home. And that's the basics of getting started.